Hi everyone, in today's video I will show you 10 PowerShell best practices every beginner should know. So in this video I will show you 10 PowerShell best practices every beginner should know. This video, I will say, as I said right now and in the intro, will be for the beginner users. So if you are more advanced, the things that I will talk about in this video you probably know them, but you can also watch it, maybe you'll learn something new. So we can start with the first one. The first one is very simple, is to use Verb-Noun naming convention. Why? Because every commandlet in PowerShell has Verb-Noun naming convention. It doesn't really matter if you are using get process, for example, which is the command that you can use for listing all processes from your system. As you can see, it is working. Or you are, for example, creating a file, so new item with the, for example, path of, I don't know, file.txt, and you can specify, for example, the item type, which will be file. As you can see, it is also working. I have some other files from the other video, but again, you are using the verb-noun convention, so it looks like this. So you are doing the verb, you are doing the dash, and noun. As you can see, I use the ls command here. It is the alias to the, again, verb-noun commandlet, which is get, child, and item. It works exactly the same. So the first best practice is to use verb-noun convention. Now we can move to the second one. The second one is to use get help frequently. So if you don't know what the command is doing, you can actually use get help. Get help looks like this. Of course, you have this verb-noun convention, and now you can specify the command that you need to get help with too. So in that case, again, I will use this get process, and as you can see, we are getting the help. So we are getting some syntax, some name, aliases, and remarks. If you want to get more information, you can use this get help command with the get process, but you can add the option with the full. The full will print the full help, so everything that Microsoft provides in its documentation, you will print it from there. So syntax, some parameters, input, output, and and other things. Now, the third one is to avoid hard coding values. I will show you again with the get process. So it is not necessary to do something like this, especially in the scripts where you are doing something more complicated. So in that case, I will use get process notepad, for example. Of course, we are getting the error because my notepad is closed, but in that case, I would say it is acceptable. But if you are doing, for example, the script, when you have a lot of values, it is better to avoid something like this and use variables instead. So if it is better to use something like this, so for example, a variable with the process name that will equal to notepad. And now we can run it, get process with the process name, and we will get an error, but I can actually open this notepad and I will show that it is actually working. So notepad and get process with the process name, and we are actually printing the value from our notepad. So this is the third practice. The fourth one is, I would say, not only for PowerShell but for the whole programming and coding. It is to use meaningful variable names. So it is not really good to create, for example, variable name with the name of X that will equal to, for example, Chrome. Why? Because first of all, it is not readable. Second of all, if you have like multiple variables, it is very hard to read and very hard to understand what you are doing. And the third of all, if some other people are looking on your code, they actually don't understand what this variable means. So if you are creating the variable that stores the text of Chrome, you can actually use, for example, browser name that will equal to Chrome. And it is better because if someone is actually reading your code, he knows that you are actually using the browser name, so probably like Firefox, Microsoft-Chrome, or something different. Not the X value, which doesn't mean anything in that case. You can use the single letter variables. For example, if you are doing the, I don't know, the loop, so for I equals 0 and I don't know, I equal less than 10 and so on, for example in C++, it is acceptable, but in the variables that actually mean something, I would rather recommend to use, for example, the browser name. Now, the practice number 5. So maybe I will show that in the Notepad. So if you are actually creating a script, Notepad is not the best place to create a script. I would say it is better to use, for example, Visual Studio Code, but this is only the example that is really simple. So I will show you that in the Notepad. For example, you have the get process name. In that case, this is also very simple, but if you are using something more complicated, it is recommended to use comments. So you can use hashtag and print, write, for example, get all running processes. So this is how you can use comments in PowerShell. This line, get all running processes, will not be executed. This is only the information for you. I will close that, maybe it is not necessary to save. The practice number 6 is to test comments before using them in scripts. So instead of blindly using the comment in scripts and you are actually hoping that it will work, you can actually use it before. So I will, for example, use the get service. I will test it. So as you can see, the get service is working, and let's say that I want to get only running processes. Now I can actually do it. Maybe I will do something like this, or no, I will just clear it because you don't see it. So I know that the get service command is working. So again, I will create a variable with the get service command, and then I will, for example, use the services that will with the pipeline, and where object will be, I will get the current object with the status that will equal to running. And now I actually know that it is working because I saw that this command exists, that this command actually has the output, and this command actually has the status column that has the value of running. If you don't know that, you will blindly execute the command, and if, for example, this command does not work, you actually don't know where is the error. So it is better to do something like this and test command before executing something more complicated. Now, the practice number 7, especially also in scripts, it is all to use the error handling, which is try catch block. As you saw at the beginning of the video, we had this red error when I tried to get process and Notepad, because my Notepad was not open. Maybe I will close that again and I will show you the same example, but with the try catch block. So we are actually trying to get process and Notepad. And if we are not able to get process with Notepad, we will actually catch this error, and we will write and output with the process not found, for example. And it will not work. Why? Because you have to add one more option. This get process Notepad, if you actually cannot get this Notepad process, it is generating the infinite error. What does it mean? If you are generating an infinite error, the PowerShell basically cannot execute this catch block. So we have to stop this infinite error. In order to do it, we have to add the parameter right there. And the parameter looks like this. You have to add error, action, and stop in order to stop this infinite error. And now you actually are getting the output of the catch block, so process not found. So this is how does it look like. Now, the third one, I mean not the third one, the 8th one, we have 3 more to go, so this is why I said third, is to keep scripts simple. Again, I will not write a script, I will just write here. So in order to, instead of writing everything in one line, you can actually separate it into smaller steps. It will be more readable. So first of all, I will create the variable of process that will get me all processes, so like this. Then I will create the variable where I will store the high CPU value. So high CPU variable may be like this, so high CPU, and we will get from process we will get, for example, where object, and we will get the object with the CPU value, and which is greater, for example, than 100. So this will be the second line, and in the third line we will just call it. It is, I would say, more readable than just writing everything in the one line. So from the name and CPU, and actually we are getting some processes with the CPU greater than 100. So this is the one more step. Of course, if you want to, maybe it will be the 9th practice, so you can actually combine it. So you can use, for example, get process where object, and again with this CPU is greater than 100, and we can select object with the name and CPU, and you are actually getting the same output, but this is a little bit higher. Why? Because actually this the values are raising in the real time, so this is why it is a little bit higher than this that I ran before, but the output is the same. So this is the 8th, the practice number 8, and this is the practice number 9. This is how you can actually print them. So you can either use variables to make it more readable, or you can just write everything in one line. And maybe the last one about the scripts is to actually store your scripts in PS1 files. So maybe I will create one. So I will create new and item, for example, script.ps1. We will open that, so you can either open that with the File Explorer or with the command. Maybe I will open it like this. It will be, I think, more easier to understand for people who actually don't know PowerShell in a more advanced way, because this is, as I said, the video for the beginners. And again, I can write this command inside of this file, so get process where object, and we will get the CPU is greater than 100, and maybe that's enough. We will print just everything, and I can save that. And how to run this script? We have to run it like this, so dot / and the name of your script, and as you can see, it is working. We are actually printing some value. So that's all in this video. This practice, I think, will make your PowerShell scripts and basically the PowerShell usage more easier and more professional. If you found this video helpful, please leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and I hope to see you in the next videos.